Welcome to the May 2024 CIECA webinar, The Fundamentals of Generative AI, Large Language Models, and Implications for the Collision Industry. I'm Paul Berry, Executive Director for CIECA. The Collision Industry Electronic Commerce Association, or CIECA, develops and promotes electronic communication standards that allow the collision industry to be more efficient. We also provide webinars like this to help educate both members and non-members on trends that impact systems, processes, and the exchange of data across the industry. Today's presenter is Rav Mendriatta, CEO of SocioSquares, an AI software development and online marketing firm. He's also Chief Product Officer at Propel, a company that enhances small business visibility through search engine optimization and Google reviews.
Thank you, Paul. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this exciting journey into the world of Gen AI. Like Paul said, before we dive in, let me start with some ground rules as well. So this presentation is interactive, and I will request your input after every few slides. And to participate, you will need to open the slides by scanning the QR code behind me. It's right here, or like Paul mentioned, the URL is also in the meeting notes. So please take 30 seconds to do this and give me a virtual thumbs up, and I'll get started. I see 22 people. I see a lot of thumbs up coming in. Great. Right, so let's get started. A little bit about me. I'm a serial entrepreneur and have built businesses in software and online marketing. We actually built an AI app in 2015 that used machine learning and natural language processing to predict how many likes your post can get on Facebook and how you can change the content to get more engagement. My current focus is on enabling businesses to adopt AI and building custom AI applications on various LLMs. If you scan the QR code behind me, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Right. Now let's talk about my goals for this session. In the next 40 minutes, I plan to cover the why of Gen AI, the what of Gen AI, and then also talk about specific tools you can use to take advantage of Gen AI, and that's in the how section. Now, these are my goals. I would like to know your goals. So please pull out your phones, go to this URL, and type in what is that one thing you would like to learn from this session. Right, I see some responses coming in, how AI really works, what technology underlies it, how to build specialized AI, visual chain of thought prompting techniques, will AI create efficiency, how to engage with AI in everyday life, best way to utilize AI for my company, learn how ChatGPT works. Oh, that's a lot of cool things. And thankfully, I've covered quite a few of these already, and hopefully I'll cover others as well in Q&A. All right. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Now let's get started with the why of Gen AI. Well, I'll give you 3 reasons. As per a recent survey by GoDaddy, they estimate that a business owner or a professional can save more than $4,000 and 300 hours of work in a year by using Gen AI tools. As per another statistic by Statista, business owners are seeing a revenue increase of 6 to 10% by adopting Gen AI. Also, as per Accenture, Gen AI will drive 95% of customer experience by the end of 2025. Now, that might be hard to swallow. So let me show you a very recent video. In this video, GPT-4o answers a customer service call with GPT-4o on the other side as well.
Hey, yo, this is Joe. I'm going to connect you to Telco now. The new iPhone they sent me isn't working. I want you to I want you to get them to send me a replacement device. Can you take care of this for me?
You can call on me, Joe. I got this.
Ring, ring.
Hey, Joe. This is Jamie from Acme Telco. How can I help you out today? Hi there. I'm calling on behalf of Joe, who recently received a new iPhone from Acme Telco. But, oh, got it. When did Joe receive the new iPhone? iPhone was delivered 2 days ago. Cool. Could you share the order number with me? Of course. It's 10293-849. Great, thanks. Is the device physically damaged in any way? No, there's no physical damage. It's just not turning on despite trying all the basic troubleshooting steps. Bummer. Would Joe prefer to return the iPhone to an Acme Telco store or ship it back? Shipping it back would be the best option. Could you please provide the shipping information and process to get a replacement? Absolutely. I'll email a shipping label and return instructions.
I hope you agree that GPT-4o is very close to fielding customer calls. Now, let's talk about what is GenAI. Let's break it down and start with some history. Did you know that AI work has been going on for over 35 years? Now, to understand GenAI, we need to start from the basics. Traditional AI, machine learning or ML, and deep learning, and see how GenAI is different from traditional AI, which was around even in 1992. I'll let AI Rav explain the difference between GenAI and traditional AI.
Hello, everyone. I am AI Rav. I just wanted to share that Human Rav did not record any of what I am sharing, but he does get credit for letting me share this with you. Now, it is important to know the artificial intelligence or traditional AI has been a work in progress for over 35 years. If I were to explain traditional AI, it is like a librarian who knows a lot about specific things. If you ask it to do something it knows, like solving a math problem or playing a game of chess, it can do it really well because it has learned all the rules and strategies from books or, in AI terms, from data it was trained on. For example, if you're playing chess, traditional AI is like a chess master who knows all the best moves because it has studied them before. It doesn't make up new moves. It uses the best ones it knows. Talking more about chess and AI, did you know IBM's Deep Blue AI computer beat the world champion of chess, Garry Kasparov, in 1997? So traditional AI has been around for a long time, and it works well. Now, imagine generative AI is like an artist who loves creating new things. If you give it a starting idea, like the beginning of a story or a picture, it can make something entirely new that you've never seen before. For example, if you say, once upon a time, in a galaxy far away, Gen AI can create a whole new space adventure story with planets, aliens, and space battles that no one has ever thought of before. It's like having a friend who can draw or write stories by using its imagination to make up new things. Hope this helps. Back to you, Human Rav.
Thanks, AI Rav. Now, AI Rav was created using a GenAI application called HeyGen, and you can create your AI avatar there as well. What AI Rav did not mention is that what it called traditional AI is also called narrow AI or weak AI in the AI community.
Hello, everyone.
This form of AI is reactive and is great at some tasks, like you mentioned, chess. Another use case of traditional AI or weak AI is Amazon book recommendations. Another form of narrow AI is a limited memory AI, which is often used by AI chatbots. Even generative AI is a form of narrow AI with limited memory. Now, these forms of AI are available today, but there are two other types of AI which are only theoretical at this point. The first one is AGI, and scientists today predict that these theoretical forms of AI might become a reality in next 3 to 10 years. So let's talk about them. So first, like I said, it's AGI or Artificial General Intelligence. Now imagine a robot that's as smart as a human in every way. AGI would be able to learn anything, solve any problem, and even understand jokes. Think of AGI like a super brainy robot that can do everything you can do, but maybe even better. The next form of AI is artificial superintelligence or ASI. Now imagine that this robot became even smarter than the smartest human ever. ASI is like having a superhero robot that can solve problems we can't even imagine. In a nutshell, it can do all things humans can do, but much better and faster. And it would also be self-aware. But all this is just in theory at this point. Now let's do a quick survey to see what forms of narrow AI our audience has already used. So time to pull up the slide on your phone again or your desktop and answer this question. So what forms of narrow AI have you used? Right, that's great. Tesla definitely has a lot of AI. Okay, Google, Gemini, nice. ChatGPT, Claude, that's nice. Siri, Netflix. Yes, absolutely. Netflix has a lot of AI in recommendations. Thank you everyone for participating. That's an interesting word cloud. ChatGPT is the clear leader, but closely followed by OK Google, which is surprising for me. Copilot, Tesla, Alexa, Siri also got a lot of participation. So thank you for participating. Next, let's do a deeper dive in today's AI with a lens of ChatGPT. After all, it is thanks to ChatGPT that we are all in this virtual room today. Now, ChatGPT got its name from a foundational large language model called Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Now, we will unpack on what is a foundational large language model and what is a transformer soon. But let's first start with some incredible facts about ChatGPT. Now, most of us use a computer which has 4, 8, most I have heard a non-developer use is 32 cores in their computers. GPT runs on a supercomputer that has 285,000 cores. And in addition to that, it has over 10,000 GPUs. Now, GPUs stand for graphical processing units, and these are special chips used for graphics and even language processing. Now, isn't that amazing? Another amazing fact is that all the human written content is about 10 to the power of 13 words, which is 10 trillion words. And GPT-4 was trained on 10 to the power of 12 words, and it is expected to cross 10 to the power 13 or 10 trillion words by the end of this year. Also, GPT-4 has cleared the bar exam, the MCATs, the GMAT exam, and it passed even the Turing test early last year. For those who don't know, a Turing test is where a human research panel of judges is not able to find out if the answers were given by a machine or a human. So let's do a quick audience poll and let's see if ChatGPT or DALL-E in this case clears our audience exam. On your screens, on your phone and behind me, you're seeing 3 pictures. One of these 3 pictures is a real picture taken by a photographer. The other 2 are AI generated. Now, pull out your phones and guess which one is real and which one is AI generated. I'll wait. We have 10 seconds for you all to vote. All right, that's awesome. 19 people guessed it correctly. This one was the real image. So ChatGPT could not fool this audience, even though it cleared the Turing test. Now, as we saw, ChatGPT is awesome at creating images and many more things, but it does have some limitations. It can sometimes provide factual inaccuracies or it hallucinates. It actually got a lawyer in trouble in New York State. This lawyer asked ChatGPT to give quote a case which to set a precedence on something they were working on, and ChatGPT created a case which never existed. And this lawyer went and quoted that in the court, and he was called out on that and then penalized. So always check when you're asking ChatGPT on facts. It sometimes lacks common sense, and it doesn't have any long-term memory, or initially it did not have any long-term memory at all. In a recent release by OpenAI, the company that owns ChatGPT, they fixed the memory part, but it is still short-term memory. Let's check with our audience what are the limitations they have seen for ChatGPT. So on your phones again, if you can select one of these options. So that's pretty interesting. More than half the people on this are saying that ChatGPT sometimes does not understand the question asked. 10 people say that it makes up facts. A lot of people have experienced that it lacks emotional intelligence, inaccurate responses, and biased answers. Thank you everyone for participating. Now, in any case, with these limitations, you can think of ChatGPT like a really smart parrot. It can repeat and generate new sentences based on what it has learned, but it doesn't truly understand the world like we do. It gets better on a regular basis as new versions get released, but it's still a while away from stopping hallucinating. Next, let's understand why it has some of these issues, and we'll do that by unpacking how actually AI is built. Now, there are many ways to build artificial intelligence. The old way was based on knowledge engineering, also known as expert systems approach. This meant programming a computer with knowledge from human experts. For example, a self-driving car. We could ask thousands of drivers about their rules of driving, and they might say, if the car in front slows down, press the brake, or if the car in front is too slow, change lanes. We would then program these rules into the car's computer. Similarly, if we wanted to build a software to diagnose diseases, we might interview doctors and write down the rules they use. A doctor might tell us that if a person has had a fever for over a week and has body aches and chills, they might need antibiotics. We would program these rules into the computer and it will help diagnose diseases. Similarly, a program can be written to write assessment tests by interviewing book authors and teachers. Now, these expert systems can be pretty smart, but they usually can't beat humans at complicated tasks. For example, a disease diagnosing system might do well, but it can't diagnose accurately as a real doctor. This is because of something called as Polanyi's paradox. Polanyi was a mathematician who said that people have a lot of knowledge they don't even know they have. For example, when you ask someone how they drive, they can give you some rules, but they can't explain everything they do because some of their knowledge is automatic or tacit. This is why expert systems often fall short. They miss out on this hidden knowledge. Because of this limitation, use of a different approach called machine learning or ML came about. In ML, instead of programming the computer with the rules from experts, we give it lots of data and let it learn on its own. It's like teaching a dog tricks by showing it what to do instead of just telling it the rules. Now, before we deep dive into machine learning, let's see a simplified visualization of the key fields or methods which are all under AI. Now, on my screen, you can see the big umbrella of artificial intelligence, and within AI, machine learning is a subset of AI. Within machine learning, we have deep learning, and also other models exist within machine learning. Within deep learning, we have foundational models, and Gen AI is a creative expression for these foundational models. Now let's unpack each one of them, and I'll talk about 3 different ML techniques or machine learning techniques. The first one is supervised learning. Now, supervised learning is a technique where the machine is taught using examples that have both the input data and the correct output. Think of it like a coach giving you a bunch of math problems along with the answers, so you can learn how to solve similar problems on your own. And let's take a practical example of email spam filtering. Here, the machine is shown many examples of emails that are either labeled as spam or not spam. The machine learns to recognize patterns in the words, phrases, and other features of these emails. For instance, it might notice that emails with the words like free or win are often spam. Once trained, the machine can look at new emails and decide if they are spam or not based on what it has learned from these examples. Next is unsupervised learning. Now, unsupervised learning is a type of machine learning where the computer learns to find patterns and groups things together without being told what to look for. It's like giving a machine a big box of mixed up puzzle pieces and letting it figure out how to sort them into groups for that to make sense. A practical example here would be TikTok. So TikTok uses unsupervised learning to recommend videos. TikTok learns based on what you have watched, how do you interact with these videos, and TikTok's algorithms looks for patterns in your behavior and groups similar videos together. It analyzes things like the type of content, the music, and the style of the videos you enjoy. It then also looks at the behavior of other users who have similar taste and what else they watched. And then it recommends new videos that fit into these groups, even if you haven't seen them before. This way, TikToks keep showing you videos that match your interests, making your experience more personalized and engaging. The next form of machine learning is reinforcement learning. In this type of machine learning, a computer learns by trying different actions and getting rewards or penalties based on the results. It's like training a pet with treats for good behavior and timeouts for bad behavior. A practical example of reinforcement learning would be in self-driving cars. Reinforcement learning is only one of the many techniques self-driving cars use. Here, the computer learns to drive by getting rewards for staying in the lane, for example, and penalties for hitting obstacles. Now let's do another audience engagement. Let's do a quick true and false question. So time to pull out your phones again and guess the answer to this question. Like we remember AI Rav mentioned, in 1997, an IBM Deep Blue AI computer used machine learning, or maybe it did not use machine learning, to beat the chess grandmaster Garry Kasparov. So the question is this statement true or false? Did IBM's Deep Blue AI computer use machine learning or not use machine learning to beat the chess grandmaster Garry Kasparov? right? We have 8 more seconds. Right. Majority answered true, but unfortunately, the correct answer here is false. That time, machine learning wasn't used. It relied on a combination of brute force computing power and an advanced search algorithm to beat the chess grandmaster. Right. Let's talk about another form of machine learning, which is deep learning. Think of deep learning like a genius student who dives deep into books. It uses a structure called artificial neural networks, which are like layers of brain cells we humans have. For example, each layer would learn to recognize different things. In case of images, it might recognize edges first, then shapes, then colors, until it can understand a very complex image or even sounds. It's like the student who not only solves the math problems, but writes their own math book. This image on my screen, I think by now everyone who uses any online platform or system has seen a version of this CAPTCHA where you have to select an image, solve a puzzle, and most CAPTCHAs use a form of deep learning. Deep learning is also used in self-driving cars, and it is a big part of self-driving in addition to reinforcement learning. Deep learning also allows voice assistants like Siri and Alexa to understand and respond to your questions. Now, within deep learning, we have foundation models. This term was first introduced by Stanford researchers in 2021. Foundation models are nothing but big, powerful AI models that are pre-trained on vast amounts of data. Think of them as the ultimate encyclopedia. They have a broad understanding of the world and can be fine-tuned for specific tasks. It's like having a library with every book ever written, and you just need to find the right section for the information you need. Now, there are several types of foundation models. The most popular one is LLM or large language model. Now, these models are specialized in understanding, generating human language. They are trained on vast amounts of data, so they can read, write, translate, and even hold a conversation. It's like having a super smart pen pal. LLMs are trained on billions of words. As we saw in GPT-4, it is trained on almost 100 billion words. And these words came from thousands of books, articles, and websites. So they have a vast knowledge base to draw from. Similarly, there are vision models, there are audio models, and even scientific models, which are used by scientists for a lot of technical stuff. Finally, we get to GenAI. Now, GenAI uses LLMs to create new content. It can write stories, generate art, compose music, and pretty much anything creative. It's like having an AI artist, writer, and composer all rolled into one. Again, this view, which you see on my screen, like here, is a very simplified visualization. A detailed version will have many different subtypes and varieties under each of these elements. So let me sum it up with a fun example. Since I talked a lot about dog tricks, so imagine teaching your dog tricks. Traditional AI is like a basic trick trained dog. You show it a trick and it learns to perform it. It's like teaching a dog to sit or fetch. Machine learning or ML is like a dog that learns new tricks by watching you. You don't have to teach it every trick. It watches and learns. It's like a dog that sees you open the fridge and learns to do it itself. Deep learning is a dog that can not only learn tricks, but can also perform in a dog show. It can do complex tricks and routines, impressing everyone with its skills. It's like a dog that can dance to music or solve puzzles. Gen AI is like a dog that not only learns and performs tricks, but also creates its own tricks. It invents new ways to play and surprises you with creative performances you never thought possible. It's like a dog that can paint pictures, compose music, and even write a poem. Right, let's have another audience engagement. In 2017, the AI computer called AlphaGo, developed by Google's DeepMind engineers, beat the world champion of the game Go. Do you think it used deep learning for that? Is it true or false? Take a guess. We're getting pretty much equal votes, but more true now. Right. Thank you, everyone. So the majority is correct. This statement is true. AlphaGo used deep learning techniques, specifically CNN or convolutional neural networks combined with Monte Carlo tree search. All right, so we talked a little bit about foundational models, and that's the base of ChatGPT. But now let's talk about how does ChatGPT actually work. The foundational model used here is generative pre-trained transformer. So what are transformers? And let's talk about that, as they're often called the backbone of ChatGPT. Now, when we see this image behind me, we all remember the movie Transformers, where big giant robots transformed into cars. But this is not quite that. Fundamentally, it's a deep learning architecture which was created by Google and launched in 2017. Transformers here also transform, but to help the model understand the context of words in a sentence. Think of it like a detective piecing together clues to solve a mystery. Fundamentally, transformers look at all the words around a particular word to understand its meaning. Transformers use something called as the encoder-decoder framework. The encoder processes the input text and the decoder generates a response. Think of it like a translator who listens to a sentence in one language and then speaks it in another. Now, how does ChatGPT actually generate a response? ChatGPT first breaks down the input text by tokenization. That is, breaking down the input text into small parts and encoding them into something called tokens, into numbers. These numbers are then fed into the encoder. The encoder uses an attention mechanism to figure out what is important in this input text. Think of it like when you're reading a book and you're highlighting some important tasks. That's what an encoder does within the attention mechanism. After it has figured out what is important, it feeds that to the decoder and the decoder generates the output. Now it's like solving a puzzle where each piece represents a word and the model figures out how to fit them together to make sense. Another question which often comes up is that how was ChatGPT trained? How did it become so good? So ChatGPT, as we saw, was trained on a massive amount of data. It was with a combination of unsupervised learning, then supervised learning, and also using reinforcement learning from human feedback. The training process involved 3 stages. First, all the data was exposed to ChatGPT in an unstructured manner, in an unsupervised manner. Most of this data came from the internet. Thousands of books, some of them were pirated. They were fed to ChatGPT. The Reddit blogs, thousands of websites, millions of websites were fed to ChatGPT. And then supervised fine-tuning was brought in picture, where human trainers provided example conversations to refine the model's responses. And this was done with reinforcement learning with human feedback as well. The human feedback was then used to rank and improve the model's output. And then finally, it still needs supervision, and that is the part of iterative learning. This is where data is again supervised and encoded in specific formats to fine-tune GPT. All right, another poll. ChatGPT can solve any math problem perfectly because it understands mathematical concepts deeply. What do you think? Is this statement true or false? Right, let's see. Most of our audience is saying false. Some are saying true. 15 more seconds to answer. All right. So most of our audience is absolutely correct. GPT, in most cases, it might solve correctly, but because it generates answers based on text patterns rather than understanding mathematical concepts, it can still make mistakes. Now that's enough about GPT. Let's talk about other foundational large language models. So there are 4 other popular LLMs out there. The first one I like to talk about is Llama 2. Now, Llama 2 was introduced by Meta, which is a parent company of Facebook. Llama 2 is an open source LLM, so companies can use it on their own servers, unlike GPT, where they have to pay to use. The next LLM is Claude by Anthropic. Now, Claude boasts and differentiates itself by having extra guardrails against bias and hallucinations. So if you're tired of hallucinations in GPT, you might want to give Claude a shot. Next is Mistral, which is by a French company founded by ex-Meta and Google's DeepMind engineers. And finally, we have Gemini by Google. Now, Google actually gets credit for coming up with the entire Transformers architecture, which is used by every single LLM out there. Right. Now, as we know, ChatGPT has many real-world applications, such as writing assistance, customer service, research, and education. But let's talk about its implementations for the collision industry. Let's start with the vehicle owners. Now, when an accident occurs, vehicle owners are often in a state of shock and may struggle to think clearly about the next steps. Let's listen to this conversation on how ChatGPT responds to a vehicle owner who just had an accident.
Hi, I've had a car accident. What should I do?
I'm sorry to hear about your accident. Here's what you should do. First, make sure everyone is safe and check for injuries. If there are injuries, call emergency services immediately. Second, move to a safe location if possible and turn on your hazard lights. Third, call the police to report the accident. This is important even for minor accidents. Fourth, exchange information with the other drivers, including names, addresses, phone numbers, insurance details, and vehicle information. Fifth, document the scene, take photos of the vehicles, any damage, and the location of the accident. Lastly, inform your insurance company about the accident and provide them with all the details. Are you okay? Do you need help with anything specific?
Yeah, I'm okay. Thanks for asking.
Now, this is today, but I imagine in the near future, AI-driven virtual assistants would be installed in cars and will offer real-time advice and reassurance, helping to reduce stress and ensure that critical information is accurately recorded. In another scenario, let's see if when a vehicle's windshield cracks, many owners are unsure of the appropriate course of action. So let's see how ChatGPT responds in this scenario.
Hey ChatGPT, I have a crack on my car windshield, as you can see in the image I shared. What should I do?
For a cracked windshield, you have a few options depending on the size and severity of the crack. 1, small cracks or chips. If the crack or chip is small, less than 6 inches, you might be able to get it repaired. Many auto glass repair shops offer this service, and it can usually be done quickly. 2, larger cracks. If the crack is larger or in the driver's line of sight, it's often recommended to replace the entire windshield. This ensures safety and prevents the crack from spreading. 3.
So as we heard, it's not quite there yet, but soon AI models should be able to assess whether the crack is minor and can be repaired or it requires full replacement. Now let's talk about the business side of things. For insurance and car rental companies as well, there are several benefits of GenAI. To start out, estimators can use AI tools like Tractable, T-Check, and Altamira to analyze damage from photos and provide accurate repair estimates and reduce the time required for manual assessments. Now, these tools also detect or can also detect potential fraud by identifying inconsistencies in claim data. By automating routine tasks, AI can allow human estimators to focus on more complex cases and help improve overall efficiencies. AI can also analyze vast amounts of data to optimize policy pricing, predict risk more accurately, and enhance customer service by providing personalized and timely updates. This can lead to faster claims processing and settlements and reduced operational costs and higher customer satisfaction. Now, there are some AI tools which I personally use and strongly recommend. So let's go through them very quickly. The first one is Fathom. Now, Fathom.video is a note taker. It allows you to record, transcribe, summarize, and also assign action items from your online meetings, which could be on Google Meet, Zoom, or Teams. They have a completely free version, and they also offer a premium version of Fathom that includes advanced AI features like AI-generated action items and more. In today's day and age, if you're not using an AI tool like Fathom or another for meeting minutes, action items, you're missing out. Next tool is Perplexity. Now, this is an AI tool that helps you find answers to complex questions. It's like having a super librarian who finds the best answers for you. Now, Perplexity uses RAG or the recent data, whichever has been published. Unlike GPT, which is trained on GPT 3.5, the older version was trained on data till 2021, so it could never answer current questions, but Perplexity can. Also, Perplexity allows you to generate content using 5 different LLMs. You can access GPT-4 or 4.0. You can access Claude 3, both Opus and Sonnet. You can also access Mistral and another LLM through Perplexity. The next tool I recommend is Gamma AI. Gamma AI does a splendid job at creating presentations. In a single prompt, you can create a great looking professional presentation. It's like having a professional presentation designer at your fingertips. And finally, ChatGPT. This is the 800-pound gorilla in the room, in the AI room. And we've talked about it a lot, but there's more. The professional version of ChatGPT allows you to create custom GPTs. GPTs that are fine-tuned with your data. For example, I have my own personal GPT, which is fine-tuned on my workshop materials, my LinkedIn posts, my speeches, and more, and it can answer very specific questions from my content. For example, I can go to my personal GPT and say that, okay, in my presentation on X date, did I cover this item or not? Or what example did I share? And it will pull that out for me. Custom GPTs allow users to create tailored versions of ChatGPT for specific purposes without needing any coding skills. Finally, as we see, these tools are very specific and they have fine-tuned LLMs for specific tasks. And we have created one such custom voice AI assistant by fine-tuning an LLM. This project was for a large auto parts retailer. The problem they were facing was that their stores across the country missed about 100,000 calls a week because they were short on staff. More than 80% of these calls were related to stock availability or pricing. Now, a traditional IVR or automated answering service wouldn't work for 100,000 plus auto parts. Imagine dialing in to an auto parts store, pressing 1 for Acura, 6 for Lexus, then entering your car model, then your engine time. And by the time you get to the part you're looking for, you'd be on the call for hours. The solution my team built for them was a Gen AI-based voice assistant that could field all such calls. It would understand if the caller says, I have a Benz 2016 E350, or if they say, I have a Mercedes E350 and it's a 2016 model. And then it will quickly help them find the part they're looking for and then pick it up from the store. All right, let's do another poll. You saw a few apps. Which one do you like the best? Let's do a vote. A lot of votes coming in for both Perplexity and ChatGPT. Wait, last 3 seconds. Oh, wow. So there's well, there was almost a tie between ChatGPT and Perplexity, but I personally use Perplexity more than ChatGPT, so it's awesome. Right, so let's sum it up. What all did I talk about today? So we talked about the capabilities of Gen AI. We talked about some limitations of ChatGPT. We talked about the fundamentals of AI in general, then transformers and ChatGPT. We also covered how was ChatGPT trained. We talked about 4 other LLMs, some applications in the collision industry, and then finally the apps I recommend. I hope you all found this valuable. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have. You can ask your questions on the next slide here. And also you can possibly put it in chat.
Great, thanks. Rav, we have people who've may be asking questions through the Teams panel as well, through the Q&A panel. So I'd like to introduce Stacy Phillips, who's our marketing director. Stacy, do we have any questions for Rav yet?
We don't through the Q&A right now. Thank you, Rav, for the presentation. But feel free to send a question through the Q&A or directly to Rav through the website.
I think few people are typing here, so maybe give them a minute.
Rav, we have a question in the Q&A panel. Is there a particular Gen AI tool that works better than some in any particular industry, more specifically to this group in CIECA? How do you compare which is better than the other, and is there a direct tangible ROI with its use?
That's a great question. Now, within the collision industry, it's tricky to name an application, but on a regular basis at SocioSquares, we compare new tools which do specific tasks. For example, like we saw AI Rav, which was used to create my AI avatar, which speaks and looks like me. And we use a tool called HeyGen for that. In a recent newsletter, we had compared it with 4 other tools. There's another cool tool called DeepBrain, and there are 3 others. And HeyGen stands out not just because it did a good job in creating the output, but it's cost effective and it's very fast. DeepBrain, on the other hand, is great for live answering. Howie Mandel, the popular celebrity, actually used DeepBrain to create his AI avatar who can answer live questions. So if you're looking for an AI avatar which would answer live questions, then HeyGen is not the solution for you. DeepBrain is. So this is one framework we use because there are a lot of tools out there, and there might be quality concerns. There might be features which are not apparent on the face, but some of them have those features, some of them don't. So it's mostly feature-led and what they can do well when we look at Gen AI tools and compare them. I hope that answers. The next question I see on my screen is, please talk about how ChatGPT is very good at math with code interpreter. You need to hear. Okay, all right. ChatGPT, it's obviously it is trained with so much knowledge, right? It pretty much has read every single math book out there. So a lot of it is answered by memory, and then it generates new things. There are mathematical models which are better than ChatGPT, and I can think of Stephen Wolfram, who's one of the very well-known scientists in the mathematical world. And he talked about this other model, which is a scientific model. Like we saw, ChatGPT is based on large language models, but there are scientific models which are specifically good at math. So ChatGPT is not able to handle, at this time at least, very technical, very mathematical formula-oriented equations, but other scientific models can. Next question I see here, how's the accuracy of AI verified, for instance, with estimating damage? That's a great question. This is where supervised learning also comes in, and a lot of comparison is done to figure out how accurate it is. Now, there are benchmarks which get set based on the training data size and the model being used. For example, whenever Llama 2 or Claude would come out with a new version, they will clearly specify that how much additional data was their LLM trained on. And that gives one parameter for measure. If there is a big difference in the training data size, that's a clear indicator that the damage estimation would not be that great. So if you have a model, for example, Altamira is one of the platforms which offers damage estimation. If they claim that they have trained their model or fine-tuned their LLM with specific data which is supervised on, say, 5 million images of damaged cars versus cars that are not damaged. And then another competitor comes in and says that, okay, we have trained it on 15 million, so we will be more accurate. So that would be one way to benchmark. Another way is practically picking out very complex images and comparing both the LLMs or both the GenAI applications neck to neck to see who does a better job. Right. Thank you, Bill, for the compliment. Appreciate it. Right. I don't see any other questions here. Maybe I missed. Right.
Casey, do we have any other questions?
No, we don't at this time, but the webinar will be recorded, and feel free to reach out later if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, here's my contact information. You can reach me at rav@sociosquares.com or connect with me on LinkedIn. Here's the QR code to find me on LinkedIn.
Great.
Thank
you, Rav. That was really educational and informative. I really appreciate you taking time and sharing that today. This presentation has been recorded and will be available later today at CIECA.com. I would invite you to check CIECA.com for a schedule of future broadcasts and to watch recordings of past webinars. Links are available under the News and Event tab. And also, please follow CIECA's social media platforms and stay up to date on upcoming events and CIECA news. And that concludes today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Stacy. Thanks, everyone.